Aquarius, I have been dying to do this wonderful 2025 video about Aquarius and what Aquarius people would be going through. On a personal note, I myself have gone through in this experience that I'm about to talk about, and it's actually my experience with Pluto that I've gone through. And Pluto had conjuncted my sun, which means that Pluto had reached the area in my life where the sun in Capricorn is located for me. And so that brought about this unexpected transitional change into my life in a way that I couldn't have fathomed before. And that, you know what, it was scary, it was life-changing, it's caused so many changes to happen in my life, but it actually brought about some of the biggest authentic changes to who I am, to certain areas of my life that had been a problem up until that point. And of course, not immediately after touching my sun, of course, it did that. But over the years, because what Pluto really does, it's actually the planet of death and destruction, but of rebirth. And so it really could definitely well be the spirit of Shiva. Shiva is a deity into the Hindu understanding. It could be called a religion if you want to, but the more I understand about it, it's really just science, to be honest with you. Back in the days, it was religious places that actually had all of the learning that people would need. And so it's the reason why some of the science that we have, our ancient science, are actually sort of like ingrained in certain monks and Buddhism. Some of the things that we do, some of Christ's understandings are both like Buddhism. And so the Ten Commandments, which is the law about people, is done through religion. So you can see that religious places at some point in time held the knowledge that we needed to know about the ancient sciences. And so moving back, sorry, I was a little bit to veer off there, but it's the best way to kind of do these because I'm unsure about how, what exactly comes out until I start talking about it. And so I have been thinking about it for quite some time, and so I really wanted to make sure that I give you everything that you need to know, because this is an exciting journey. And when it was all happening to me, it was very hard for me to comprehend that such a thing could really occur, that I could really have this planetary transit in my life that was just going to change every single thing, even down to like my physical identity, as far as like just making a different version of myself. And it's exactly what people in Pluto and Aquarius in 2025, and at least for the next 20 years or so, is going to have as part of their place in life for right now, for 2025 and beyond. I think it's like super exciting that it's happening, and that I'm here to talk about it. And what really spurred a lot of things on was that today I had two Aquarian ladies that I know very well, that I see at least once a week, and we were just having some discussions, and I saw them in their selves today, and they had this kind of extra energy, the kind that Pluto likes to give to people when it's vastly transiting your sun. And these two people that I know, they're like late Januaries, which means that like they're really like they're exactly where Pluto is at like 2 degrees headed to 3 degrees, so you're like, 3 days into like, we're into 3 days into Aquarius. So if you're born in the first 3 or 4 days of Aquarius, like right now as I'm speaking to you, of course, even the second and third day is still being affected because it's only at 2 degrees in some sense, but it's been here for quite some time. However, I don't believe that it's gone any further than the 2 degrees that it's gone back retrograde for. So which means that like this time and forward, many other Aquarians will start to actually finally have these effects just settle in for like who they are for the next year or so until it's their turn. And so I wanted to talk about that today, and I think the biggest thing I want to talk about is that with Aquarius people and with all fixed signs, and this will probably be the same for Leos just because they're a fixed sign and Pluto is on the opposite side, which is 180 degrees. So that is just as life-changing as the 0 degrees, actually any time the touch from Pluto is transiting. But the difficulties of them vary. So when Pluto is at 0 degrees of your sun, so if you were born in Aquarius and you were born on the second day of Aquarius or the third day of Aquarius, Pluto will be coming to be on that same exact degree. That's called a conjunction. And then this effect occurs where there's this sort of like transmutation that goes on into your life in a 3-year process, where the best way I could describe this would be the caterpillar, first of all, being laid into an egg. That would be the initial stage of your Pluto transit. And then the second part of it would be when the thing turns into a caterpillar. Part of it, which is your last bit, is when you become completely invisible. So one of the things that actually Pluto does is starts to make, because you're so far away from the person who you used to be. And the other thing too is that there's this extra energy that's on you, and it's very anxious and sort of has no tolerance, no patience. It's uncomfortable. It's all these things, It's all these things that go on and that makes this just such a thing, because not only are you not feeling amazing, but you think, and this is true, everyone else treats you a little bit different because you're not the same person who you used to be. At the same time, you know that life is changing vastly before your eyes, and what choices do you have to make? I have an aunt who is an Aquarius as well, and she's born on January 29th, and so she recently had some surgery, and so it happened to be in that Pluto Aquarius time, and I was just not, at the time that it was going on, my mom was very just worried about it. A lot of people were too, just because of the fact that it included high blood pressure and a whole bunch of other things as well. And so, I had this piece about it that if someone had reached a place of Pluto and Aquarius, or just Pluto in general, she would be okay with this because she's strong enough and she doesn't want to die, and she loves her life that she's created so far, but she herself needs to have this change and this rebirth that happens to her because of the fact that she's just had a life where maybe lots of choices were not available to her about her personal self. And so that's the best way to put it. And so now Pluto has come to release her from those limitations, even though her surgery has her in a wheelchair. And I was just like, well, how could this be? Well, maybe this person was living a life in a certain way the whole time, and so that way was keeping them in a rut where that was the real decay of their life, not being able to do whatever it is that this regeneration is asking. And that's the other thing, you can't always predict exactly who, what, when, and why something like that is occurring in someone's life and where it's going to go to. That's the reason why the analogy of the caterpillar turning into the pupa and just hanging on this branch while it disintegrates into like liquid with its just eyeballs just popping out there until it actually becomes a form again. Doesn't know exactly, has no kind of real inclination of like what its physical self is turning into. And so this is the same truth. It takes an act of like inner faith here with Pluto intercepting over someone's sun like this, is that there is some sort of like transmutational type of situation that goes on in this person, and a resurrection that happens as well, and then there's this other creature ready for another another lap of life. And so that is the best outlook that you could possibly have for a Pluto transit. This is for any advice for anyone who really has any type of Pluto transit, no matter how it is, but this specifically is for the Aquarian people because they are the chosen ones at the moment for the Pluto complete transformation and transmutation. So that's all I have for you for right now. I will continue them. I will continue a series that has to talk about how it is that Pluto in Aquarius affects those who are in Leo, how they affect those in Libra, how they affect those in Gemini. And those are the four major aspects that are really, really life-changing, and people should look out for, just because of the fact that they really could have this immense amount of breakthroughs and amazing things that ordinarily wouldn't have occurred to them had not this transit just appear. And you should know exactly where it is. That's why I always recommend, whenever people have such big transit like this, though we're not going to use it for predictable things because, as I said, you're going through a transformation, but it does help you to navigate exactly your timing, about what it is. And it also gives you a little peace of mind that whatever it is that you might be going through, that it does have some relevance. Maybe not every single story would be relatable, but a good bit would feel like you know exactly what is going on. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you continue to follow my channel. I do have great things in store for everything that's going on, from the midlife crisis times ahead, and many things to talk about as the Pluto and Aquarius does its journey. Have a great day, and thank you again. Have a nice day.